This is
Brighton's Finest.
bringing the artists closer to you.
Juice.
Well, obviously, you've got a big day of press today, haven't you? And it's all to do with the Songbook album, which is
It is indeed, yes.
coming out in a couple of weeks' time, which is basically a retrospective. If I can just get this right, it's a collection of songs from your back catalogue, but also you've reimagined some songs.
Yes.
And also you've included a new song as well.
Yes, that's right. I mean, the genesis of the idea was at Lost Evenings Festival, my own little festival that I had in Camden earlier this year, and I played headline 4 nights at the Roundhouse and was trying not to repeat songs across nights, and that meant that I ended up playing about 85 different songs over the 4 nights. And given that I don't tend to listen to my own records when I'm at home, that was the first time in a while that I really holistically considered what I've done over the preceding 6 records. And then that combined with the fact that the new, as yet unfinished and untitled record that I'm working on for next year is something of a radical stylistic departure. It felt like an interesting moment to just sort of take a moment to take stock about what I've done over the preceding 6 records.
Yeah. And so how did you go about choosing which ones you wanted to include?
Well, I mean, the choosing for the reworkings was sort of dictated by which songs I felt like I had something to add to. I mean, I've always felt there's something slightly weirdly odd recording songs anyway, given that a song is a living, breathing entity that can be presented in different ways and can grow over time and whatever else. So those ones, I was sort of picking the ones I felt I had good reworkings to do. For the rest of them, there was a moment in time when I thought it was probably going to be a nightmare doing them, and I took a deep breath and set myself quite a lot of time to do it. And then it was actually quite easy, all told.
Yeah.
I think that there's this idea in a lot of people have that artistic worth and popularity are somehow mutually exclusive. And I don't actually think that that's true. I think that it's perfectly possible for popular songs to be good ones as well, and I think the record public tend to have taste in this kind of thing. So for the most part, it would be easy. There were a couple of curveballs on there, of course, but generally speaking, it wasn't a challenge picking the right songs.
Sure. And what were the ones that you think were curveballs?
Well, I mean, there are songs. I was very glad that I'm Disappeared on the collection. That wasn't, a single at any point in time or anything like that. Glorious You remains one of my favourite songs that I've written. Things like that. There are a few songs where kind of my opinion of them and the sort of the popular acclaim and do not necessarily coincide.
Yeah.
But so there were a couple that I got through. But I mean, we sort of very much phrased it as being my choice. You know what I mean? So it wasn't. That sort of slightly that's my get out of jail free card, if you like, for what other people might think about it.
I suppose it in a way, of course, it's a good introduction for people who don't know much about you to put together something like this.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think that is the thing, particularly given the sort of streaming Spotify world that we live in. I think some people coming along and seeing an artist, if you've just counted them, they've got 6 records plus all the rarity stuff I've done and live albums or whatever else, it can be a bit of a challenge to find a way in, and this might also serve as one of those.
And the new song, There She Is, which I think is a love song, basically.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, well, the song was written, I was on holiday with my girlfriend, and I woke up before her and decided to write her a song for when she woke up. So that was how it was written. It's sort of, the last couple of records in particular that I've done, Positive Songs for Negative People and Take That Heart, were both records about a particularly rocky and not particularly happy time in my personal life. And this song will be on album 7 out next year, as I say, as yet untitled and unfinished. But the rest of that record is very much more about kind of current affairs and, dare I say it, politics. So this song it sort of made sense to me to put this song on the songbook as well, as it's kind of a bridge, both lyrically, it sort of draws a line under previous topics, and stylistically it points in the direction that I'm heading with new stuff. I mean, some of the new stuff that I'm working on is considerably further down this particular road, but it's a hint, if you like.
Yeah.
Brighton's Finest.
This is Juice.
With regards to the music that we can expect on your forthcoming album, you mentioned obviously the political landscape and the turmoil going on there. There's always been that, of course, but in the last couple of years, perhaps since your previous studio album, Positive Songs, things have obviously gone completely mental in some people's eyes. And that is informing what you're writing about at the moment. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, there have been moments in my career when I've engaged with politics and moments when I haven't. And I think that, among other things, the most important thing is that I find I can't just sort of like abstractly choose a topic to write about. It has to present itself in the way that I feel I can write. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for a long time, I personally couldn't find an angle into writing about politics that I found interesting and worthwhile. Then 2016 happened, and suddenly I felt like the world was demanding comment, and I found kind of lyrical avenues in which to kind of engage with current affairs. So I hesitate to call it a political album in the sense that it's not quite a Rage Against the Machine album. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my sort of central preoccupation with the way that the world is going is I'm scared about the idea that the centre will not hold. And the idea that people are deserting the centre ground of politics for the extremes, and people have started taking pride in an inability to understand people who disagree with them, which I think is a disastrous development.
Yeah.
And I think that if human beings disagree, that's what we do. It's what we've always done. And if those disagreements aren't solved through peaceful discourse, then they tend to be solved through other more violent means. And I'm hoping that it doesn't come to that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've just reading again, if you don't mind. You've described yourself as a classical liberal, and you sort of align yourself with the libertarian kind of philosophy. I don't know if that's still the case, but also I was interested to hear that you're a patron of the Humanists as well. The Humanists UK.
Yeah.
Is that still the case? And what?
Yes, that is the case with the Humanists. Yeah. I mean, I'm quite bored of specific political terminology. I mean, I think I'm an old school liberal. I sort of believe very firmly in free, liberal, pluralist societies. That's the kind of society I'd like to live in.
Yeah.
Free, liberal, pluralist society.
Okay. And are you still a vegetarian?
No, that's long in the past.
Okay.
I grew up sort of with the hardcore scene, and there was a very strong kind of vegan straight edge thing going on, and I was vegetarian for a while. I was always meaning to go vegan, and I never quite managed it.
Okay. Well, you did it for quite a long time, it seems. So, just obviously going back into time, obviously I'm familiar with your past work as A Million Dead. And then many years ago, I think when you were just starting out as a solo artist, you came onto a radio show I did in Brighton. And I think you had only done a handful of gigs. It was just basically you touring around on your own with a guitar in a car, or however you got from venue to venue.
On the train for the most part, and became very familiar with the ups and downs of Network Rail.
And obviously that was very formative. That was just a brilliant kind of schooling for you in a way, because it was almost like you were starting again from fresh. But you worked your socks off, and that was the way to kind of get your audiences again, because that was kind of just on the cusp of the internet revolution, still when word of mouth was still important and all that sort of thing. Do you remember those days with fondness?
I certainly do. I mean, I sort of. There's a difference between what you're able to cope with and do physically when you're in your early 20s and what there is in your mid to late 30s, as I am now.
Yeah.
So I look at them fondly. I'm sort of quite glad that I don't have to do too much sleeping on the floor these days.
No.
I'm quite a big fan of beds or bunks on buses. But no, I mean, it was a great time. And it's funny you mentioned the internet thing. I mean, the internet was not in the way that it is now, but it was definitely up and running as a conduit for music at the time. And there were people back in 2005 who were telling me that I was being old-fashioned in the way I went and did things. And, and I stand by them. And if I was starting out again, or if I'm giving advice to younger kids who are starting out in bands, I would stand by that as a methodology. I think that, there's something about getting in front of people that is a better way of introducing yourself as a musician than the other. It also, playing live makes you improve as a musician, I would believe. I often feel like you can tell with a band that's kind of a studio project that's become successful and is now trying to kind of bolt a live show together.
This is Brighton's Finest.
Bringing the artists closer to you.